Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to
Instant Finish.
Where this week...
Very masculine.
This week we have been listening to Dark Gallifrey, The War Master, Part 1. I don't know why I went American.
Very American. Featuring Evelyn Hutlet-Smythe?
No. Starring Lisa Bauman and David Warner.
Yes. Well, much to talk about there.
So we obviously had to get this one and do an instant finish on this.
David Warner's very last appearance in a Big Finish story. And because Lisa Bauman had recorded so many with him, she totally forgot that she thought that the Once and Future was his last appearance. And thank the Lord, it wasn't. Because that was terrible. And this was great, I thought.
It's part 1 of 3. So we can only talk about this first one and see how it goes. So we've already had in Dark Gallifrey the 3 Morbius episodes. And now this is the War Master, although there is no War Master in this story or no mention or anything. No. So it very much is a chapter 1.
That's my only real criticism of this story, which I thought was extremely good indeed. Just like I thought the first Morbius was extremely good indeed. We haven't heard the last 2 of those. But so far, my experience of Dark Gallifrey has been, well, a bit like the Sontarans versus Rusans. It's showing a lot of promise, just needs to stick the landing. But yeah, no War Master in it at all. No Jacoby there at all. So just entirely a story about Bernie Summerfield and what is the David Warner?
What is the Unbound
Doctor?
The
Unbound Doctor. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect. It very much, I think later on, obviously, later stories with the actual War Master is going to come back to whatever plot points happened in this, I'm guessing. The structure of the story is something unique to get your head around. Yeah. I mean, there's been a few Big Finish stories that have done this.
Yes, well, we've already talked about Creatures
basically
of
is, you know...
we haven't talked about Ravagers, but that does a similar sort of thing.
Where the story is going in reverse, so you start at the end and you're slowly sort of piecing it together as we go back.
I don't think that's been done before.
I think we've
had a non-linear narrative.
No, I think we've had a few.
This literally, and please, how hard is it to pull this off? This literally... The last scene is the first scene of the story, and the last scene is the... No, hang on. The first scene is the last scene of the story. And to tell a story backwards like that, but in a way that me listening to it, it made absolute coherent sense. I understood the ideas, and I got all of the character points. To tell that story backwards, that's really hard to do. Props to James Goss.
Like, I followed it, but as soon as I finished, I thought, right, I want to go back again and listen again and try and understand again. So it's definitely one you can get more and more out of, I think, as you listen.
I mean, you could almost go back and listen to it, but just play the last track first and do it in the other order. I wonder if it would be quite boring, actually, if you listen to it in the right order, because you're always playing catch-up, aren't you, of like, well, what's going on, you know?
Okay, so the only thing that I got from this that I wasn't sure about, maybe you can explain this to me.
I will.
Oh, so we're talking about Dark Gallifrey as an alternative, like a different dimension. Like we're talking multiverse stuff here, right? Yeah. It's all very sci-fi and very complicated, which isn't usually my kind of genre, to be honest.
Well, Gallifrey's never usually my kind of... As soon as I saw this advertised as Gallifrey anything, I was like...
But it's not Gallifrey. You can sort of get the concept of it. But... are we looking at sort of alternative versions of different things? The only thing that comes up with me is like, well, does it matter because it's an alternative version? Do you see what I mean? Where it's like, well, this Gallifrey did this and it's trying to get through into our universe and this happened, but it didn't happen. Because you've got things that, you know, Bernice is saying, oh, well, there's this timeline, and in this timeline this happened. Yeah. When you have loads of timeline things, what I'm trying to say is, we don't always care about the consequences because there's so many different versions, if you see what I mean.
I do, but I mean, I think you were sort of under a bit of a misapprehension there, because what seemed to have happened was they unleashed the abomination. This absolutely... You unleashed the abomination all the time. They unleashed the abomination, which was a very scary voice, I thought. They did a really...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
A bit like Morbius. They're doing lots of scary voices in this series, who can sort of fuck all the timelines up and make everything all paradoxes and all.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I kind of get lost in the
when it's paradoxes. That's what I mean. When it's paradoxes, that's when it gets.
You just get the idea that actually things are going very badly indeed. So you have a sequence set on the dome of the Citadel where Bernice Summerfield is walking across the dome and it's cracking underneath her feet and she falls through and you know everything's gone horribly wrong. I think the Technobabble doesn't really matter. The Dark Gallifrey doesn't really matter. What matters, and what matters to me, is I really like these two characters. The relationship that's built up between David Warner and Lisa Bauman, both on and off. I think it's really important, actually.
Well, that's the thing.
This leans into the fact that the off mic, they were actually having a relationship because you can really feel the chemistry between the two characters in this.
That's the thing that
they've had like a long run. You have across.
I mean, David Warner didn't understand the Technobabble. Lisa Bauman didn't understand the Technobabble. You know? You didn't understand the Technobabble, and I didn't understand the Technobabble. But it doesn't matter. All four of us didn't understand what was going on, but we still really enjoyed it because there were those moments and just listening to those characters.
What was really nice was you had a couple of scenes where they're trying to rectify the problem, and in one version of the solution she's messing about with the Doctor's timeline, and in another version he's messing up with her timeline, and they both get to react to, you know, how dare you do this to me. At the beginning of the story you've got like a really fun scene. Well, I say at the beginning, is at the end. One of the last scenes is Bernice going, "Come on, I've heard the rumours about Dark Gallifrey. We've got to go and find it. Like this is what we do, right? We unearth things together." I just thought they had wonderful chemistry, and really a lot of this is channeled through Bernice more than the David Warner Doctor, even though he does get lots to do. And you know, I've heard criticisms from people we know that have said David Warner sounds really old and doesn't sound like David Warner at all. I thought that in the first couple of scenes, and then I really thought, I just sort of got into that voice. He's an older man playing, you know, it's David Warner as an older man.
Yeah, but no, he was
like
just
Jesus Christ.
To me, it was just the Doctor.
But he's a phenomenal actor. Who cares how old he sounds?
It doesn't
he's
matter.
A great actor. But so many great emotional scenes for Lisa Bauman to get her teeth into. This reminded me of the Bernice Summerfield series at its height.
It does.
Where she really gets emotional.
It felt
scenes.
like
Just
those
War,
single disc,
you know, Crystal of Cantus
series. Yeah, it really did.
Death to the Daleks. Those really great moments. And bugger me, Lisa Bauman can do it. Like, she can literally get in and tear my heart out. She's wonderfully good in this. There's a sequence where she's talking about Ace, and rather wonderfully, Ace, in one of these realities that the Abomination has created, has become president of Gallifrey and taken a ship and destroyed, you know, committed suicide in a load of Dalek ships. Oh no, you know, Ace is killed. Wonderful. And apparently in all these different dimensions, Ace is murdered. Wonderful. But she's obviously really sad about that because Ace is her friend. So all of the material, it is confusing and it is very sci-fi heavy, but it's emotional, and so there's a hook to get me into it.
It's a good start. It flew by listening to it. I'm very interested to see how it turns out. Where does the War Master come into it? I feel like if it was just another two of just Bernice and the Doctor, then no problem at all. I don't really want the War Master to turn up now.
I'm quite sad that there's no more David Warner, because clearly that relationship, that the two characters, was really bearing fruit. You know, Dylan absolutely loves the Cyberman series that they did right towards the end. Clearly,
everyone loves that one.
Great stuff was coming out of Bernice Summerfield and the Unbound Doctor, and it is really sad. So, can we just salute David Warner and say thank you for your service to Big Finish?
We very much look forward to listening to the next two. Absolutely give this a listen if you love these characters, or if you haven't heard these characters before, you can still listen to this.
And I'll say it a million times, crafted dialogue, lots of great crafted dialogue,
yes.
Big ideas, emotional moments.
And because it was a small cast, because it's really essentially those two.
It's basically
throughout the whole thing.
And
you don't need,
Abomination.
and like odd robot voice here and there, but hardly any other characters.
Again, that's probably why it reminded
it felt
us of
like
Bernice.
a two-handed. Yeah, it was that small cast, one disc release. That's what it was. Yeah,
but just
really harking back to those
superbly
early
written
days.
and superbly acted.
Yeah,
I thought, a really strong start. Enticed to see where we're going to go next.
See what happens next month. Yep.
Started and ended in a very excitable way.
In the meantime, everybody, don't forget
to
Finish the instant big.